It's been a busy week of news in the world of streaming bundles and sports rights. Joining us now to break it all down is the co-founder and lead analyst at TVREV, Alan Wolk. Alan, good to see you. What to you is the headline of this busy couple of weeks in the streaming and TV rights world?
Oh God, there's two big headlines, but I'd say the biggest one is that the great rebundling is happening full on. We're starting to see that. We saw about 3 weeks ago, we saw a bundle come out from Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery. And then last week, we saw something called the Stream Saver, which is coming out of Comcast, which includes Peacock, Apple TV Plus, which is a real surprise because nobody really expected Apple to be part of this so quickly, and Netflix. And what's key there is it's ad-supported Netflix. So we're really starting to see that. The backup headline is all about sports rights, but we'll get into that after.
Are these attractive options for consumers, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that they're considerable savings. It's about 35% savings as if you got them all by yourself, and especially the Comcast one. So it's only available for Comcast internet subscribers. And most of the MVPDs, well, normal people call cable companies, make their money these days from selling broadband. So they don't really care what's on, what sort of TV package they're providing. They just want it as something to create stickiness. And that means that some consumers generally like having all their bills in one place. If they can sell you something that's broadband and all your TV needs, all the better. And the thought is that with Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus they sort of snuck in, they have this something called the Skinny Bundle, which is a bunch of cable networks called Now TV. That's a Comcast product. And so if you have all of that, it's $30 a month. And they're betting that for a lot of people, that's going to be enough TV, and it's going to be attractive to them because just pay one bill. And that's all, and that's a great thing for most people.
Largely speaking, the American people spoke. We didn't want cable. We've got away from it. The numbers are dropping off a cliff. And now it feels with these bundles that we're going right back to what we wanted to get away from. Is that where we're headed?
Oh, 100%. So the thing is, people didn't dislike cable. They liked per se. They disliked the way the cable companies were treating them, where they were locking them into these 2-year packages. They were being completely unresponsive. Prices kept going up. And more than that, they weren't keeping pace with what was available on streaming. If we roll back the clock about 10, 15 years, there was a period where they wanted to do something called TV Everywhere, which was basically people looked at Netflix and said, hey, I can stop what I'm watching in the living room and then pick it up in the bedroom 2 hours later and be right at the same place. Why can't you do that for me, cable company? And they couldn't. And that was really what started people going, you know what? This is a wet, hot mess. I'm paying over $100 a month for it. I don't want it anymore. So now when they're coming back with these new bundles, they're a lot better. They're a lot more consumer friendly. They're reasonably priced, at least for now. And they are something that people will actually want. So it's, again, they didn't dislike cable per se. They disliked what the cable companies were giving them.
It's interesting to me, Alan, and I'd like to get your take, especially in an election year, as part of this bundle with Peacock and Comcast, broadly speaking. The only news option that I see here is NBC and MSNBC. Do you think that is enough to get people to sign on and bundle in this case?
That's a very good question, and it is a big question mark. Now, NBC News is very different than MSNBC. It's not slanted that far left. And if they have their local stations on Peacock, which a lot of the NBC owned and operated are available to local news on Peacock. But for a lot of people, it may not be enough. A lot of people are going to say, hey, I want CNN or I want Fox News. And they're going to have to go outside of that bundle for that. Now, again, to get CNN, you subscribe. You can do that by subscribing to Max. HBO Max, Max, which is Warner Brothers Discovery app, actually has CNN on it right now. And so somebody might say, hey, for this election cycle, it's worth it to me to get that too. And then once it's over, I'll reevaluate. So the idea is that you will have your core group that you don't unsubscribe to, that you're in for a full year, and then others that you sort of churn in and out of as there's a show you want to watch, or in this case, if there's news that you want to watch.
Of course, the thing holding all of this together is sports. This really is the biggest piece in the streaming and the broadcast world. And the big headline this week was the NBA, according to Sports Business Journal, the only outlet to have this story to report that they are dealing with NBC, ESPN, Disney, and Amazon and finalizing that contract. But we've heard not a whisper from anyone involved in this, including Warner Brothers Discovery, who may take legal action, according to this report. Why has it been radio silence from all the parties involved? Do you understand this deal is moving forward?
I mean, my thought on it is that it's still very much in flux, that the NBA is like, hey, we're going to pit NBCU and Warner Brothers Discovery against each other, see who we can get the most money from. Sports rights are incredibly valuable in the streaming era because they are always ad-supported, right? There's always ads on sports, because for the average consumer, that's not a bad thing, right? You're sitting at home, you can listen, there's a timeout, you can listen to the announcer blather for 2 minutes, or you can see a bunch of somewhat relevant commercials. So it's a big money maker. And for the streaming services, it's a way to draw in subscribers. So it's very valuable to Warner Brothers Discovery. They've got this, they've sort of launched this new sports streaming app. TNT really relies on the NBA. At the same time, it's even more valuable for Peacock and for NBCU because they want to sort of boost their status with sports. And it's live viewing, and that means that people stay watching longer. And if you're running ads, again, that's just much more revenue. NBA is very, very popular, and so that's another thing you've got going for it. Some of it's going to streaming, but they also want it to be on broadcast because you've got a lot of, as cable goes down, broadcast, actual over the air is still a hot thing, and they want to be able to do that. And that's something that NBCU can offer. At the same time, Warner Brothers may be very motivated to give them more money and to outbid NBCU. So I think they're just keeping it, hey, we're not going to say anything until the ink is dry.
Let's talk about this Roku deal, striking a $10 billion deal with the MLB for Sunday leadoff. How significant is that, and how accessible does that make the content for viewers?
Well, it's very significant because it's the first time a free ad-supported streaming TV service, so Roku, Pluto, Vizio, WatchFree, Samsung DV Plus, things like that, was the first time one of them has one of the big four sports on it. And that's number one, that's significant. The second thing, which is actually really interesting, is that allegedly NBCU, which had the rights previously, was paying $30 million a year for it. Now it's going to Roku for what's reported to be $10 million a year. So that's a big drop off. And then there's a question. You're right that you need a Roku stick, which the cheapest one is $20. Or Amazon also carries Roku, but if you don't have that, you need to get one in order to watch these games. It's significant because of the ad revenue and because Roku recently signed a deal with the NBA to get their shoulder content. That means anything but the game, all the sort of stuff around it. So they're really making a big sports play. And Roku is starting to sell its own television sets now, in addition to just dongles. So this could be a really big thing for them.
$10 million deal. We'll leave it there. Alan Wolk of TVREV. Alan, thanks for joining us on a Friday.